You wake up in a small house in Queens to the smell of your aunt making breakfast. Today is just another boring school day. Except there's a field trip. You ride the bus to a high-tech genetics lab while everyone else messes around. You're the only one actually reading the displays. Genetically modified organisms, cross-species DNA, experimental cells. Then you feel it. A tiny sting on your hand. You barely even notice the spider crawling away. And just like that, your life is over. You have no idea that all it takes is just one single bite to completely ruin your future. You go home, shaking, feeling sick. Your skin burns, vision blurs. You collapse on the bedroom floor, shaking like your blood is rewriting itself. Morning comes and you're not dead. You're different. That morning, everything seems wrong. The light hurts your eyes, you touch your desk and your hand sticks. The panic sets in as you realize you just caught a falling drink without thinking. You're stronger than the guy who picks on you. You realize that you're not a regular kid anymore. And it feels good. A little bit too good. So, you try these powers yourself. You climb instinctively. You reach the top of a building and look down at the city. The wind hits your face, heart pounds, not from fear, but from power. You tighten your fists, but you shoot a web-like structure when you do so. You jump, you swing. For a moment, you feel like a god. Like you finally matter. Being a teenager dreaming of big things, you see this as an opportunity. Your first instinct wasn't to be heroic, just trying to get the best out of it. So what do? You make a costume and become a show. Do wrestling, some underground fights. People cheer as money flows. It felt great. You think it's harmless because you deserved this after feeling weak your whole life, but now you don't feel like a loser anymore. After a show, a thief bumps your shoulder. Security shouts, "You could stop him." Instead, you step aside and say, "Not my problem." Feels good, justified. You let him go. That one simple decision ruins your life. Because later that night, it becomes your problem. As you're walking back home, you hear sirens. You see a man laying down on the sidewalk. It's Uncle Ben. He was shot by the same thief you let go earlier. You realize in that moment that being selfish is not an option. With great power comes great responsibility, as your uncle told you earlier. You replay that moment over and over. The advice becomes a life sentence. Powers aren't freedom, they're an obligation. You don't get to choose yourself as people die when you do. That's when you become Spider-Man. Once you accept that responsibility, there's no going back to a normal life. You can pretty much kiss an 8-hour sleep cycle goodbye because New York's underworld doesn't believe in a 9-to-5. While everyone else is tucked in and dreaming, you're out there dodging bullets and breaking up gang wars. 2 years in and your body is basically held together by spite and medical tape. You spend your Friday nights bandaging your own ribs in the dark, knowing exactly what caliber of gun just went off 3 blocks away by the echo alone. Your swings are getting heavy and your landings are sloppy because you're just too exhausted to care about form anymore. You aren't even scared of dying. You're just terrified that one day your reflexes will be half a second too slow to save someone who actually matters. The bills aren't getting any smaller either. Not like being a hero pays for your groceries. You still go to school, sometimes with a swollen jaw. Your spidey senses are on full alert mode, even on the smallest things. One day, you just snap. You take off the suit to take on that normal life. For a bit, you actually feel like a normal person again. Walking down the street without having the obligation to be a hero. But for the few hours you're gone, you pass by a shop window and the news playing. Another crime that the cops can't handle alone. This rest was quite short-lived, knowing someone else might pay the price for your absence. So, you stand in the mirror with the suit in hand. You pull your mask back over your head. The guilt of doing nothing will kill you faster than any supervillain. Your conscience is heavier as you can't escape responsibility. Just when you think you don't own your life anymore, you find a reason to remember why being human was worth it. You meet her. Possibly the only person who makes you feel like a human being. The one laughing at your jokes, the one noticing your pain. Being with her even for a few minutes, watching the sunset on the rooftop. You aren't Spider-Man at all. She is the best part of your day, but the consequences come after. She gets kidnapped for the first time, but you didn't think much of it. You tell yourself it could have been bad luck, like random New York coincidence. The second time it happened, though, it felt more calculated and intentional. Villains whisper your name in the city and you realize that they are now targeting everyone you care about. Now, every time you hold her hand means you're showing your biggest weakness to your enemies. You piece things together. Whoever you love means they're in danger. You push her away, cancel plans, leave her on red. Everything for her own safety. And you can't just escape the lies. To be Spider-Man, you would have to make the person you love hate you just to keep them alive. And so the dilemma arrived. To tell her the truth, but put her in danger, or constantly lie, but poison everything you have. You're watching her walk away, even if all you want to do is just run after her. Loving you is a liability that neither of you can afford. Being heartbroken, you sit on the rooftop watching the city lights. You might have saved her from falling debris, but you can't save her from your own world. You would think the hardest part about being a hero would be the supervillains, but it's also the people you have to leave behind, as if you were always meant to be alone. When you live as tired and alone as Spider-Man, you start looking for shortcuts to make the pain stop. That's when you find this oily black substance sliding over your skin that actually listens to your thoughts. It is terrifyingly strong. You won't have to stack up web fluid because you won't run out of it. It feels more powerful than you already have. A freak of nature. Fights that usually took you 10 minutes can now end in 30 seconds because you don't play nice anymore. Every criminal you take down is traumatized and it's satisfying to see. You don't feel like yourself, but it's more efficient this way. Suddenly, anyone who dares to breathe in your direction is a target, and the voice in your head is whispering some pretty dark stuff since it's finally your time to call the shots. You hear insults in perfectly normal conversations with friends, getting a bit delusional. Every little bit of hurt you felt is starting to burn out of control. You look in the mirror and you can't recognize the monster staring back at you. The suit isn't meant to cover your scars anymore, just feeding your ego bit by bit. In a fight you already won, you just keep hitting because you can. That satisfaction in the raw power you have is eating you alive. But hey, being a monster seems easier than the sacrifices it took for you to be considered a hero. And what you once considered justice starts looking like payback. Control feels easier than restraint after all. Being a good guy is supposed to be exhausting, but this suit you have is dangerously simple. Tearing off that living suit is excruciating, but you still chose kindness over raw power. You're still burdened by the responsibility even if the power is telling you to let it go. So, you go back to the original suit. Not because it's easier, but it's the only way to stay human. You thought the man who killed your uncle was the end of that story. You were wrong. You find out that the guy you let go wasn't the only one in the alley that night, and suddenly the closure you thought you had is gone. You're stalking the city, ignoring the usual scanners to hunt a specific target. Every memory of your uncle comes rushing back. This isn't hero work anymore. It's about finally letting yourself be as dangerous as everyone thinks you are. When you finally corner him, you hit him with a force that's definitely not heroic. You aren't just fighting a man, you're taking out every bad memory and regret you've had on his face. You stop just before it's too late, but the terror in his eyes proves you've already crossed a line you can't come back from. Revenge isn't an easy task to do, and this revenge wasn't something you planned over a year. The holes in your plan resurface as a rival photographer captures the fight for the front page. You won the fight. Now the city's hate is growing faster than you can handle. At sunrise, you try to count the people you've saved, but you've forgotten more names than you remember. It's way easier to track the people who hate you than the ones who actually want you around. You thought heroism meant fixing things, but it just multiplies the mess until there's nothing left. You spend your life trying to be two people at once, but eventually the mask you wear eats your entire future. The city won't care if you ruin your body to save strangers. There's not necessarily a finish line in this life where you get to retire by 60, just the usual spiral of deciding whether to put yourself first or save everyone all the time. Normal life is a luxury you can't really afford. The worst part? Your love for people is exactly what your enemies are after. You've learned to lie and push people you care about away just to keep them safe. And oftentimes, they end up walking away from you anyways. Every swing, every jump, every fight reminds you that power is an obligation you never asked for. You're trapped in a loop of responsibility where the reward is more work, and you thought an office job would be hellish. The city will cheer for you and hate you in the same breath, never knowing about the kid crawling through the dark in total agony. They won't see the people you lost or the love you had to burn down just to keep them safe. That's the real cost. A life of constant guilt and zero thanks and an endless sacrifice that no one will ever truly understand. That's the truth. That's why it actually sucks to be Spider-Man. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe.